The landscape around the Los Angeles Dodgers shifted in a matter of days, and what once looked like an offseason headed toward multiple interconnected deals suddenly feels far more complex and calculated. Early expectations pointed toward aggressive movement, especially with several prominent names circulating in trade rumors. But the direction has clearly adjusted as new information emerged. Teams that were previously viewed as sellers are no longer acting that way. And that change alone forces the Dodgers to rethink how they navigate the rest of the winter. When a front office pivots from resetting to competing, the ripple effects are felt across the league. And for a club like Los Angeles, those ripples can close doors just as quickly as they open others. One of the biggest shifts involves Minnesota's evolving mindset and how it directly impacts the Dodgers' outfield plans. The Twins are no longer behaving like an organization preparing to strip things down. Instead, they are positioning themselves as a team capable of contending in a division that feels attainable without reckless spending. That mentality usually leads to holding onto cornerstone players rather than sending them away for future pieces, especially when the potential trade partner already has a roster loaded with talent. From that perspective, it becomes easier to understand why certain conversations cooled almost overnight, even when the fit on paper looked nearly perfect. Byron Buxton represented exactly the type of player Los Angeles values: elite athleticism, game-changing defense, speed that alters how opponents approach an inning, and underlying offensive metrics that remain strong even when the batting average dips. Last season showed that while consistency at the plate can fluctuate, the quality of contact, the ability to reach base, and the impact on the bases and in the field remain undeniable. A player like that does not come around often, especially one whose skill set aligns so neatly with the Dodgers' needs in center field. Add in a contract structure that spreads value over multiple seasons at a manageable annual figure, and it is easy to see why interest existed in the first place. From a roster construction standpoint, the appeal went even deeper. The Dodgers are navigating an outfield mix filled with talent, but also uncertainty. Defensive alignment, positional flexibility, and long-term clarity all remain fluid. A true everyday center fielder would have allowed the rest of the outfield to fall into more natural roles, reducing strain and maximizing strengths across the board. It would have provided balance, especially with players capable of shifting between corners depending on matchups and health. That kind of stability is difficult to quantify, but teams chasing championships understand its value. As those talks faded, attention naturally returned to the broader outfield market. The Dodgers are no strangers to exploring every avenue, whether through free agency or trade, and the current environment makes right-handed outfielders particularly valuable. Scarcity drives leverage, and when few options exist, prices tend to rise, either in dollars or in prospect cost. That reality forces decision-makers to weigh immediate impact against long-term flexibility, especially when durability questions linger around certain players. Talent alone is rarely the deciding factor at this stage. Availability and sustainability matter just as much. At the same time, internal discussions continue about how best to deploy the players already in the building. There has been open acknowledgement that defensive roles can evolve, especially when offensive production carries enough weight to justify adjustments. Observations from late-season performances showed improvement and reliability in areas that were once questioned, which naturally feeds into the conversation about whether the club truly needs to add another everyday outfielder or if creative alignment could bridge the gap. Still, championship contenders rarely rely solely on hope, and depth remains a priority. While the outfield picture grows more complicated, the pitching side of the roster is quietly influencing everything else. Rotation stability has become a central theme, and recent reports have suggested a firmer stance on retaining key arms that were once mentioned in speculative trade chatter. When a team signals confidence in its starting pitching core, it often reshapes how resources are allocated elsewhere. Protecting rotation depth can mean fewer chips available for position players, or it can signal a larger move brewing that requires certainty on the mound before anything else unfolds. The timing of these developments is impossible to ignore. As one potential trade avenue closed, clarity emerge around another name that had been floating in rumors for weeks. Being told that a pitcher is not being moved sends a message internally and externally, even as speculation continues to swirl. It raises questions about whether previous conversations were exploratory rather than concrete, or if the front office simply reassessed the risk and reward balance. In an offseason filled with conflicting reports, that kind of clarity stands out, even if only temporarily. All of this feeds into a larger sense that the Dodgers are repositioning rather than retreating. Shifting priorities does not mean inactivity. It often means patience and precision. The front office has shown time and again that it is willing to wait until the right opportunity presents itself, even if that means enduring weeks of noise and uncertainty. With rotation targets still being evaluated and the outfield market evolving daily, the pieces are far from set, and the path forward remains deliberately open as the organization weighs how one major move could reshape everything else that follows. As the Dodgers continue to reassess their options, the sense around the league is that their next decision will have a domino effect on everything else they do this offseason. When a front office with this level of depth and financial strength slows down instead of pushing forward, it is rarely by accident. It usually means that internal evaluations are pointing toward a move that requires precise timing, whether that involves waiting for a market to soften or for another team to reach a crossroads of its own. In this case, the balance between upgrading the outfield and reinforcing the rotation feels more interconnected than ever. The rotation discussion has quietly become the backbone of the Dodgers strategy. Even with elite talent already in place, the organization understands how fragile pitching depth can be over the course of a long season. Injuries, workload management, and postseason reliability all weigh heavily in these conversations. Holding on to key starters, especially those who were recently mentioned in trade speculation, suggests that the Dodgers may be prioritizing stability on the mound before committing major resources elsewhere. That approach makes sense for a team that expects to play deep into October rather than simply reach the postseason. At the same time, trade rumors have not completely disappeared. They have simply shifted in tone. Rather than widespread chatter about multiple pieces being available, the focus is narrowed to very specific targets that could dramatically change the outlook of the rotation. These types of acquisitions rarely come cheap, and they often require a combination of young talent and major league-ready players. The Dodgers have that flexibility, but choosing when to deploy it is the challenge. Committing to a significant pitching move could effectively remove certain position player options from consideration, especially if the prospect cost becomes substantial. That reality brings the outfield conversation back into focus. Without a clear external addition locked in, the Dodgers are left evaluating whether the current group can shoulder the responsibility or if a late market opportunity could emerge. There's always a point in the offseason when teams reassess their own rosters and decide that a move they resisted earlier suddenly makes sense. The Dodgers are well positioned to capitalize on those moments, particularly if they maintain patience while others feel pressure to act. Depth, versatility, and internal improvement all become part of the calculation when the perfect fit is not immediately available. Another layer to this situation is how roles within the lineup could evolve based on who stays and who goes. Defensive alignment, batting order balance, and matchup flexibility are all impacted by a single addition or subtraction. The Dodgers have players capable of adapting, but there is a difference between flexibility by design and flexibility by necessity. The front office has to decide whether relying on adaptability is a strength or a risk, especially when postseason margins are so thin. One misalignment in October can undo months of careful planning. There is also the psychological component of an offseason like this. When expectations are sky high, every rumor feels amplified, and every report seems to hint at something larger on the horizon. For a franchise accustomed to making headline moves, restraint can be interpreted as uncertainty from the outside, even if internally it represents confidence. The Dodgers have earned the benefit of the doubt in that regard, but that does not stop speculation from building as weeks pass without a definitive move. What stands out most is that none of these developments feel isolated. The shift away from one high-profile outfield target, the firm stance on retaining certain pitchers, and the continued monitoring of elite rotation options all point toward a single, cohesive plan that has yet to fully reveal itself. The Dodgers are not scrambling to fill holes. They're choosing where to apply pressure. That distinction matters, especially when other contenders are making faster but potentially less calculated decisions. As the offseason progresses, the margin for error narrows, but the Dodgers still control their narrative. They have the depth to wait, the assets to strike, and the experience to navigate a market that often rewards patience more than urgency. Whether the next move comes via trade or another avenue entirely, it is clear that the organization is setting the stage for something that goes beyond incremental improvement. Every report, every clarification, and every denied rumor adds another piece to a puzzle that is still taking shape, and the sense remains that one decisive action could realign the entire roster in a way that reshapes expectations heading into the season. With Byron Buxton now off the table, the Dodgers are left to re-examine their priorities, especially in an outfield that has a mix of proven talent and uncertainty. Players like Tree Turner and Cody Bellinger, alongside younger talents, provide options, but none immediately fill the exact gap that Buxton represented. The challenge is not just about acquiring talent. It is about constructing a cohesive unit that maximizes both offensive firepower and defensive efficiency. Los Angeles has long understood that an elite roster requires balance, and losing access to a player of Buxton's caliber forces creative thinking on where the next addition should come from. At the same time, the Dodgers' internal flexibility has become a critical factor in this equation. Players capable of moving between positions give the team the ability to absorb unexpected outcomes and still maintain competitiveness. For example, Teoscar Hernandez has shown versatility, and his deployment could shift depending on how the front office decides to approach left and right field. Those decisions are not made lightly, as every positional adjustment carries implications for the lineup, pitching matchups, and overall team dynamics. It is a careful orchestration that can have ripple effects all season long. Meanwhile, the pitching situation continues to anchor the team's strategy. Retaining key starters provides stability, and the Dodgers are clearly evaluating which trade targets, if any, can provide the kind of immediate impact that complements an already strong rotation. The interplay between pitching and hitting decisions cannot be overstated. Adding an outfielder or making a trade without securing pitching depth could leave the team vulnerable later in the season. Conversely, solidifying the rotation first opens doors to make bolder moves elsewhere, knowing that the foundation is secure. Ultimately, patience seems to be the prevailing strategy for Los Angeles. The team has the resources, the depth, and the front office experience to wait for the market to present the right opportunity. Every rumor, report, and update is being weighed against both short-term needs and long-term vision. While fans may feel anxious for a headline-making move, the organization's methodical approach suggests that when the Dodgers do act, it will be calculated, strategic, and potentially transformative. In this evolving landscape, the team's ability to pivot while maintaining focus on the bigger picture could define the trajectory of the entire season. But before we move forward, don't forget to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest news about the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the news, so drop a comment below. The baseball world is buzzing with whispers that have finally materialized into reality. Aaron Judge is heading to the Los Angeles Dodgers. While the deal has been officially confirmed, fans and insiders alike are already speculating about what this seismic move could mean for the team's future. The atmosphere in Los Angeles is electric. Chatter in bars, online forums, and social media suggest that Dodger supporters are already imagining the stadium erupting with every massive swing of Judge's bat. Sources close to the front office hint that this is more than just a signing. It's a statement. The Dodgers, already a powerhouse in the league, are seemingly signaling that they are not content with merely competing. They want to dominate. Aaron Judge, known for his prodigious power and consistent performance, is rumored to be thrilled by the prospect of joining a squad with such high ambitions. Though details of the contract remain under wraps, insiders suggest that both sides view this as a long-term commitment, one that could reshape the landscape of Major League Baseball for years to come. But while the official word is out, the rumor mill continues to churn. Could Judge's presence alter the Dodgers' lineup strategy? Will his arrival spark a cascade of other high-profile trades and acquisitions? Fans speculate endlessly, and sports analysts can't stop dissecting the possibilities. Some say the move will attract even more attention to the Dodgers brand, pulling in fans who may not have followed the team closely before. Others wonder how opposing pitchers will adjust, knowing they'll face one of the league's most fearsome hitters night after night. What makes this story particularly tantalizing is that, despite the confirmation, there's an air of mystery. The Dodgers have historically kept certain strategies close to the vest, and insiders hint that Judge's signing might just be the first wave of a more ambitious plan. Social media is already aflame with mock-ups of Judge in the Dodgers' iconic uniform, memes, and fervent debates about his potential impact. From casual fans to hardcore analysts, everyone seems to agree. This is a blockbuster, a headline-grabbing move that will dominate conversations well beyond the confines of Dodger Stadium. As the rumor officially becomes reality, the only question left is how the saga will unfold. With Aaron Judge on board, the Dodgers' trajectory suddenly seems limitless, and the anticipation, tinged with a healthy dose of speculation, has never been higher. One thing is certain: the league is watching, and so is the world. That's all for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay up to date with exclusive news about the Los Angeles Dodgers, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We always appreciate your comments and feedback. See you in the next video.